Okay, so Wittgenstein was supposed to have come up with his theory of language games after watching a football match. I've been unable to find any corroboration of that in various sources. Ray Monk doesn't mention it in his biography, so I wrote this instead. It's called A Poem About Grounds, and it has two epigraphs, both from Wittgenstein's philosophical investigations. If these are not grounds, then what are grounds? What if I imagine senseless combinations of words? A good ground is one that looks like this. Carrow Road is a good ground. I can feel it in the centre circle, and I can feel it on the touchline. Terry Alcock, know what I mean? Forward Terry Alcock in his proper place at Carrow Road with Johnny Arnold in the right colours makes the description more accurate. Craven Cottage is a good ground too. Everybody calling them a cottager almost fits the picture of an English sentence. Like little Sammy Chung at the Stadium of Light, which is not a good ground. I would like to say it is a good ground, but it is not. Nobody feels it on the halfway line or in the corner arc. Little Sammy Chung at the Stadium of Light does not make sense, like Kevin Keelan leaving the recreation ground because I tell him to. Bring me sugar, Kevin Keelan, and Kevin Keelan, bring me milk, poor Kevin Keelan. The recreation ground is not a good ground, unlike the valley which comes up to the standard of good grounds everywhere, the valley which has undergone remarkable changes, like Justin Fashanu. Know what I mean? Forward Justin Fashanu, saying to himself, poor Kevin Keelan too, because Justin Fashanu comes up to the standard of good forwards everywhere. Sometimes with his brother John, forming and testing a hypothesis, saying to himself before he arrives at the valley or at the den, a good ground is one that looks like this. I can feel it in the dugout and I can feel it in the changing rooms. And sometimes presenting the results in tables and diagrams. If anyone said poor Clint Easton, I wouldn't understand him either. If anyone said funky Billy Chin, I wouldn't believe him, because this is a good ground and in its proper place. On the head, Clint, and on the head, Billy, are sorts of statements about the ground that make events probable at Plough Lane or at the Dell, though Plough Lane and the Dell are no longer grounds. And I am misled by this way of putting it, even though I saw a photograph of the club secretary's house. I am only leaving the ground because he tells me to, going right at the sign for sugar and left at the sign for milk. I don't even take sugar in my half-time tea. The essential thing is that the ground is a good one, even a beautiful one, like White Hart Lane, where I'm always home in all seasons, watching Ricky Vila and his fighting cocks. Ask what I understand by Ricky Vila. He is the man of whom all this is true, Ricky Vila and his fighting cock, Guzman. Only he has turned out false. I can feel it in his letters and I can feel it in his words, passing from the sentence to the proposition with Cyril Regis at the Ricoh Arena. What sort of ground is that? Enormously familiar Cyril Regis, over whom the eye passes in the Hall of Fame. All I know is I looked at Cyril Regis intently, and as I did so, I thought of the Berlin ground, and in a queer way, the words Cyril Regis did not trouble me, even though the Berlin ground is identical with itself, and in a queer way, the words Cyril Regis fit into its white surrounding. Like good forwards everywhere, hitting the post. Know what I mean, using language to hit the post at the Stadium of Light or at Stamford Bridge, which is not a good ground either. Forward Vivian Woodward is always hitting the post. Thank heaven, Vivian Woodward. Thank heaven for the little goalposts of the grounds of England. Charlie Mitten is always hitting the post too, because this is how it is on English grounds. This is how it is in front of goal. Forward Charlie Mitten hitting the post and handling the ball at Bramall Lane, which nevertheless is a good ground I tried to describe, but the violent thudding of my heart made me use the wrong expression. It doesn't matter. At Bramall Lane, they always do the same thing in front of goal, staring at the object in front of them and hitting the post. I would like to say it is the same in German, but Declinen Torp Pfosten doesn't make sense like little Sammy Chung or Funky Billy Chin getting it on at the King Power Stadium, which is not a good ground. I've thought it over, and it is only roughly a ground. And I can't say what goes on there. Know what I mean? I want to tell Don Reevy about that sentence. Knock, knock, Don Reevy. Don Reevy who? Don Reevy, of course, is not a ground. He is a mistake, like asking Frank Ramsey, what's it like for him to come? Know what I mean? What's it like for me to expect him to come? Poor Frank Ramsey, I expect he'll come, but I am rushing ahead when my aim is to teach Frank Ramsey to pass. Over here, Frank. Move it about on the surface according to the rules, and the weather is fine or it is raining at the Abbey ground, which is a better ground than you might think. Oh, if only he would come. I can't keep my mind on my work. I can feel it, though I can't pronounce it. Die Verdopplung der Verneinung. If only he wouldn't delay the start of play. If only he would come on time to the Abbey ground and not to the Franz Hohr Stadion. Because the Franz Hohr Stadion is not a ground. It is a sound I once heard the beginning and end of, like a Christmas truce between Hans Krankel and Archie Leach, whose senseless drawings tell me nothing about the field of play, the centre mark, the penalty spot, other games.